Absolutely sorry scenes that was witnessed in phase 4 of polling West Bengal. You're watching India Today with me, Nabila Jamal. I'm going to take you through all those details right after this story here. Violence that marred phase 4 polling in Bengal, leading to 5 deaths in Cooch Behar. Violence erupted after a first-time voter was dragged outside a polling booth and shot dead. In the clashes here that erupted between the TMC and BJP workers, later 4 others were killed. Political blame game quickly erupted over the violence here, with Mamata holding Amit Shah entirely responsible. Prime Minister Modi countered this charge, saying that Mamata Banerjee is desperate as she could sense loss. Let's take a look at what really went by.
Bullets, bombs and exact moments of the Bengal bloodbath. Caught on camera with chilling sound of crude bombs and firing. The 4th phase of polls in Bengal marred by bloodshed in Coch Behar. The violence erupted after a first-time voter, Anant Burman, was dragged outside a polling booth and shot dead in Seetalkuchi area. The BJP claimed that the slain was their polling agent and that he was killed by the TMC workers. A charge denied by the TMC and instead blamed the BJP for the killing. The incident triggered a clash between the BJP and TMC workers. Crude bombs were hurled at a local police station.
बीजेपी का बम मार दिया।
बीजेपी के लोगों ने बम मारा। आप लोग पर जैसे हमला किया, आप बोल रहे हैं बीजेपी, आप आरोप लगा रहे हैं बीजेपी वाला हमला किया, उसका पुलिस क्या किया? वहाँ पर बहुत सारा पुलिस होगा
और बिल्कुल शुरू हो जाएगा। वो तैयार नहीं है।
कुछ नहीं किया। यहाँ तो आरोप लगा रहे हैं कि पुलिस वो जो पैरामिलिट्री फोर्स है उसने गोली चलाया था, कुछ गोली भी चला था क्या?
हाँ, गोली से।
The mob then targeted the central forces who reached the area to contain the violence. After facing attack, the CISF personnel opened fire in self-defense. At least 4 TMC supporters were killed. The violence prompted election panel to suspend voting at the spot. The poll panel later said that the CISF fired in self-defense, leading to a full-blown political war. While Mamata blamed Modi and Shah, the Prime Minister called it a fallout of Mamata's provocation.
হোম মিনিস্টারের কথায় যে চক্রান্ত চলছে, আজকে প্রমাণ হয়ে গেছে যে আজকে 4 জনকে গুলি করে মেরে দিয়েছে সিআরপিএফ, যারা লাইনে দাঁড়িয়ে ছিল ভোটাররা। বিজেপি জানে বিজেপি হেরে গেছে এবং হেরে গেছে বলে এখন ভোটারদের গুলি করে মারছে, কর্মীদের গুলি করে মারছে, লজ্জাও করে না।
बीजेपी के पक्ष में जन समर्थन देखकर दीदी और उनके गुंडों में बौखलाहट हो रही है। आपकी कुर्सी जाते देख दीदी इस स्तर पर उतर आई है।
The clashes came days after Mamata Banerjee asked people to gheraw the central forces, who she said are intimidating voters.
সিআরপিএফ যদি গন্ডগোল করে, আমি আপনাদের মেয়েদের বলে দিচ্ছি, আপনারা ওদের ঘেরাও করে রাখবেন, একদল আর একদল ভোট দিতে যাবেন, একদল ঘেরাও করবেন, একদল ভোট দিতে যাবেন।
This was second easy notice to Mamata after the CM earlier asked Muslims to vote as one bloc.
ভাই সংখ্যালঘু ভাই বোন, আপনাদের কাছে হাত জোড় করে একটা কথা বলবো, ওই শয়তান ছেলেটা যেটা বেরিয়েছে বিজেপির টাকা নিয়ে, ওইটার কথা শুনে সংখ্যালঘু ভোট ভাগ করিয়েন না।
Mamata, while rushing to Cooch Behar, defended her Gherao forces call in her reply to the Election Commission, saying it is a democratic mean to protest. Both TMC and BJP locked horns at the poll panel as well.
When you can't beat us fair and square, you shoot and kill. Mr. Modi, Mr. Shah, you are killers.
अभी 2 दिन पहले ही ममता बनर्जी ने कूच बिहार में एक भाषण में ये कहा कि उनके कार्डर्स को, उनके समर्थकों को सेंट्रल पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस को घेर लेना चाहिए और फिर वोटिंग कराने का प्रयास करना चाहिए। ममता बनर्जी की पार्टी के कार्यकर्ताओं ने हमला किया। जब CISF ने अपने बचाव में कार्रवाई करी तो कुछ लोग उसमें हलाक हो गए।
Mamata Banerjee has now rushed to North Bengal and she will be meeting the family members of the deceased to milk this issue to its very end. Will it benefit her in the remaining phases? That's the big question. With camera person Probir Biswas, Indrajit for India Today in Hooghly.
What we saw was indeed shocking, and really, so far, none taking responsibility for it. It's erupted in political blame game, and that's what it's ultimately reduced to. Let me quickly cut across Dr. Nikhil Prasun joining us, BJP spokesperson from West Bengal, Riju Dutta, TMC spokesperson as well, to give us some clarity. I'd like to ask you, Riju, as the TMC government is currently in power in West Bengal, what really happened in Cooch Behar? 5 of them eventually have succumbed to this clash. The CISF have opened fire, but they say it was absolute self-defense, because here were 150 locals who came charging at them. They tried this as much to pacify them. Eventually, they were forced to open fire. What in your records have you understood on this issue?
Navila, first of all, let me call it the way it is. It's murder. It's a blatant murder of 4 and one more, first-time voter, an 18-year-old boy, in the broad daylight by the central forces under the instructions of the Home Minister of this country. And that is why we demand from TMC for his instant resignation. Now, when the CISF or the BJP people are saying that, CISF fired in self-defense, you know that the Election Commission has, placed CCTV cameras all across poll booths. So it's the police force, the central forces deployment are under the Election Commission. Let the Election Commission come out with it. They have transferred the superintendent of police of Coch Behar a couple of days back before the polling. Now the new guy in charge does not even know the region. You have transferred all the top.
So what, according to you, Riju, was the reason for this 18-year-old's death? You're calling this murder. What really prompted the forces to pick on this?
I am telling you, it is a part of a deep-rooted conspiracy when BJP has found out after 4 phases that they are losing and they're losing badly. This is what they have resorted to.
Riju, but then how would you justify violence in almost every single pocket of West Bengal as it enters, as it completes phase 4 polls? Here is Prime Minister Modi accusing Mamata Banerjee to dissuade voters from actually stepping out and casting their vote, because a low voter turnout would benefit the TMC, is what the Prime Minister says. These are the allegations that Mamata Banerjee is constantly insinuating voters on ground and trying to foment violence.
See, Navila, like I was saying, we have seen 34 years of red terror. Now we are seeing terror by the central forces. And when you ask me this question, I will ask you, there is something called violence and there is something called blatant murder of the youths in broad daylight who just participated in the festival of democracy. My question to you is this: I might be a very small spokesperson of a party, but in your broad journalism career or in anywhere, have you heard ever in the history of polls, I have not heard it in the history of Bengal polls, where the central forces have opened fire and killed 4 or 5 youths? It is unheard of.
Undoubtedly, it is unheard of. Undoubtedly, it's unheard of. Dr. Nikhil Prasun, if you want to jump in on this, it's shocking to say the least that the CISF, who are fully armed, have opened fire at locals who are not armed. It's still unbelievable to understand that the CISF personnel, the armed forces, are there in numbers and they couldn't contain and control the local crowd on ground, that they were forced to open fire.
Actually, this is utterly shocking, and I offer my condolences to the bereaved family members. And at the same time, I think the people at the helm of the state who are responsible for instigating violence against the who are responsible for this, I think they should be brought to book. I think the shamelessness is something which should be, it has given a new low to the political narrative. I think in a bid to instigate voters, she is resorting to attacking CRPF, attacking Election Commission, attacking every single central body. Now what did she do? She instigated the people to gherao the CRPF, gherao the CAPF, so that an atmosphere of violence and intimidation can be created, so the voters can be dissuaded not to come to the polling booths, and so that these kind of, now the original intimidating tactics, original intimidating overtones that was behind this Kela Hobe thing has started playing out in its veritable and the most sinister form in the fields of West Bengal.
Right. According to you, Gherao, the central forces is what led to the central forces opening fire. Do you really feel that, Mr. Nikhil Prasun, that this is a legit response to what the central forces have done? They have put out a statement saying this was self-defense, but they are armed forces. They have enough and more personnel on ground. In fact, a good number, a fresh batch of central forces are now being deployed after this violence here. And whoever is to blame here, the purpose is served. Now we see that only 76% of people have come out and cast their vote there, as against 80% that came forward in the last 3 phases. We've seen a dip in the fourth phase of polling. Go on, Mr. Nikhil Prasun. Is this really a valid reason that the central forces can give, that they shot out of self-defense?
Actually, they were surrounded by a flash mob. Initially, there was a worker of some TMC, he fell ill, and after that they suspected that probably has been manhandled by CRPF or CISF for that matter. After that, there was a flash mob that gathered, and they started surrounding and gheraoing the CISF people. And after that, there was a deployment of a quick response team. And, you know, the people, they tried to snatch the rifles out of them. They had nothing at their disposal. So they had to resort to this kind of a thing, as has been stated by CISF. It needs to be investigated by Election Commission. But the larger question is this politics of violence, which they had already been, you know, trying to play out through this Kela Hobe thing, has now been manifested in its most sinister form. And I think Madam Chief Minister is squarely responsible for this kind of a provocating scenario, this kind of a lethal scenario in which 4 youth had to lose their life. And one of our workers, first-time voter Anand Burman, had to lose his precious life initially at 8 a.m. and he was killed by TMC goons. And moreover, at several other places, we have been attacked. Our, you know, candidates, Chunchura candidate.
Those are the reports that we've got as well. Several places, Riju, not just Cooch Behar. We're looking at a bunch of the constituencies in phase 4 polling today that reported violence, sporadic violence that was reported across. And many of the BJP workers claim that they were attacked by the TMC goons. Some cases where TMC goons were attacked. Now, we understand that blame game aside, here's the BJP constantly pointing out that there is a law and order situation in West Bengal. And somehow or the other, every single time there's an election, and here we're looking at the 4th phase of election, even this phase, we saw such grave violence that taking place there, and it doesn't seem like the TMC ever want to take responsibility. Not in the past, not now as well. Keeping the Cooch Behar issue aside, which is shocking, and there has to be answers coming out. Even the CISF says that this was self-defense, but nonetheless, there's got to be an explanation to that. And the Election Commission is also investigating into the matter. Hopefully they bring out some CCTV footage. We understand what really happened. But law and order situation in West Bengal is really a concern, and TMC has to own up.
Now, Nabila, see, I'll go back to the fundamentals. The Election Commission declared an 8-phase election. Why? Because apparently there is too much violence in Bengal.
Precisely because of law and order situation, and it's somehow living up to that.
Can you let me finish, please? Can you let me please finish? Please. So they declared an 8-phase election citing violence. Now they have deployed what the Election Commission thinks is the ample number of troops to prevent this violence. So if the Election Commission, the state police is not under the purview of Madam Chief Minister, it is under the purview of Election Commission. So after this plethora of troops, if this is what has happened, then why the drama of 8 phases? That is my first question. Now, second question is, who has ordered the CISF to open fire? Where are the video evidences? Where are the CCTV footages? This is all a sham. See, you have hit the nail on the head when you said there is a dip in the votes. That is the main ploy of BJP, to intimidate voters that don't come or the central forces will fire at you. And let me tell you on your national channel, you know, for every bullet, the people of this Bengal will give their answer through their ballot. Bullet ka jawab ab hum ballot mein denge, and I will tell you this Mosha syndicate, their hands are littered with the bloods of these innocents. But obviously it is nothing new for them, and I don't know how they sleep at night. They have to answer to themselves now. Because they have the blood of...
Actually, they did not have anything substantial so far as the support is concerned, especially in North Bengal. So they had to resort to this kind of a strategy.
But initially, this is precisely what Mamata Banerjee is saying, that the BJP is trying to instigate and somehow wreak violence across of North Bengal.
Who provoked the people to Gherao the central forces? Within hours of her provoking the people to Gherao and surround the central forces and attack them, the people started, they were in a bid to
That's still no justification. That's still no justification for the CISF to open fire. That is clear. But Riju, Dutta, it's also very clear that Mamata Banerjee has time and again said, or rather insinuated, that the CISF or the central forces, the armed forces, who's ideally deployed for protection of the people of West Bengal, are there to actually to try and threaten voters on ground. This is your narrative that you've spread, eventually trickling it down to the ground, and the grassroots people are now actually looking at the armed forces as their enemies. And that's really instigating most of the poll booths there. And that's for the Chief Minister to blame. If you really have something against the armed forces, why don't you pull out videos and evidence?
Sedition Act.
Listen, I'll tell you. During the first phase, we have submitted 6 complaints against the central forces to the EC. Second phase, 18 complaints. Third phase, 134 complaints. We have submitted video evidences where central forces in the darkness of the night is destroying TMC camps. That is on the Twitter feed of our MPs. That is on the social media. But Election Commission has become a mute spectator because they have to answer to their top bosses.
So that's why you provoked the people to attack them. That's why you provoked the people to attack them.
It is not about a provoke. It is a clear case of murder, Nabila, where BJP is forcing the central forces to let the people of Bengal know that if you come to vote for TMC, we will shoot you, we will kill you. They are murderers,
in the line of fire. That's why you have...
What is all the more shocking is that this is possibly the only state, poll-bound state. There are 5 states that are going to polls. The only state, poll-bound state here, West Bengal, is seeing this kind of violence. It's about time that Riju, TMC government is currently in power. It's also your responsibility equally. Law and order situation is under you, and this is a concern that's been raised from the start.
Law and order is not under us. Law and order.
At the moment, you're still the government. At the moment, this is your responsibility. Of course, armed forces are there to ensure situation is calm, but clearly here too, the CISF is open fire. A better explanation, hopefully, that comes by on that case.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.